During my first ever engineering interview, there was this one question that was stupidly simple, but I was just not expecting. So it was my early years of university, and I was searching for these engineering internships. And at the time, I had no knowledge on how to professionally look for jobs and make some professional applications. And I didn't have the knowledge that I do now. But by some miracle, some crazy miracle, some companies still wanted to interview me. So at this point, I was like, oh shit, this might be my only chance. This might be my only chance. So I'm hyped. I start studying like 3 hours a day. 3 hours a day until that point, like just interview questions. I Googled the most common engineering interview questions. I YouTube them, and I'm like, okay, I have to get this perfect. I'm getting down to like the pronunciation of my words, also that I can nail this engineering interview. So the day of it comes, and in the interview, they're asking me these common questions that I saw during my little study sessions. And I'm getting confident at this point. I get like my chest is pumping up, my shoulders are back. I'm like, all right, I got this. I'm nailing this interview. Whatever you ask me next, I know I could answer. That's what I'm thinking. And then they asked me this one question, that stupidly simple question that I wasn't prepared for. Tell me about a hard decision you had to make. That was my exact reaction in my head. I didn't do that in reality, but I was like, what? I didn't study for this question. Fill in my study guide. So I'm like thinking that. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta answer this. So I like look up at the corner, trying to avoid eye contact with these interviewers, and I could see in the peripheral vision that they're thinking like, oh shit, we got this guy. He doesn't know how to answer. We got him, boys. We got him. That's what they're thinking. And I'm like, oh shit, the time's ticking. So I gotta answer this, right? I come up with the stupidest answer possible. I don't know how I came up with this, but this is what I said. So during exam season a couple of weeks ago, it was also my mom's birthday. So I didn't know if I should go home or not for my mom's birthday, because I also need to study. So I ended up deciding on going to my mom's birthday and just studying at home. That was such a bad answer to a question that was so simple, because I provided zero context, pretty much, like zero skills, zero transferable or attractive skills for the interviewer to sort of look at. And I provided no thought process behind that. So like I was like, oh my gosh. And reasonably, they asked a follow-up question, because they were like, okay, they were thinking like, oh, that was a terrible answer. So let's follow up this guy. And then they're like, so what was your thought process behind that? And I'm like, oh shit, I gotta keep answering. So I go back to looking at the corner, trying to avoid eye contact with these interviewers. And I'm like, so I answer, and I'm like stuttering, trying to come up with a good answer. And then I get to the point where I'm like, okay, the bus ride back home is 4 hours. And I thought maybe I could study on the bus. And I was like, oh, this is a good idea. But then in my head, I was like, oh shit, but I got motion sickness. So at that moment, I said, oh, I got motion sickness. And to the stupidest answer I ever have given before, I follow up with another stupid answer. I say, I studied in my head. Yeah, those interviewers, they froze at the moment, because they were like, how did we ever want to interview this guy? That's what they're thinking. And I'm thinking the same. I'm like, how did they ever want to interview me? So needless to say, I obviously did not get that internship, because they smelled through my lies. Nobody studies in their head. Come to think about it, I don't even think I got a follow back email. And that's reasonable, but it was a good learning experience, because there was actually 3 reasons why that answer was so shit. First, I studied word for word the answers that I was going to answer to these common questions. And then they asked me a question that I wasn't ready for, and I had nothing at the top of my head. Secondly, it's because I interviewed myself. I interviewed myself from like just looking at a piece of paper with all these common questions. And then nobody was there to give me feedback. Nobody was there to give me feedback or hit me with some unexpected questions. And lastly, I lied about studying in my head. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I lied about that, and they smelled it out. and that caused me to fail. So in this video, I'm going to show you 3 ways that you can completely avoid this type of situation where you don't know how to answer a type of interview question. Starting with the first step, which is studying your experiences, not the questions. Okay, so think about it. If you're taking a thermodynamics exam, what's the exam going to be about? It's going to be about thermodynamics, right? So in the same way, what's an interview about? It's about you. So what should you study? You. Yeah, you should study you and your experiences. So that's what I'm saying here when you should study your experiences. And more specifically, you should study the experiences which relate to 7 different traits that the engineering employer is looking for. I'll put them on the screen. So if you follow these 7 traits that they're looking for and you put some experiences under each section, like for example, communication, and you have an experience to draw upon for a group project where you led them all the way and you organized these meetings and you communicated through text amongst them, making sure everyone was on the right page. That's one experience you could put under communication, right? And for adaptability, maybe you could talk about how you adapted to a missing coworker from your fast food job or something, and how you managed to take a different role for that day. Whatever experiences you have, put them under these types of traits that these employers are looking for. That way, you're ready for any type of unexpected question that they ask, because you're not expecting the questions, but you're expecting the topics of what these questions are going to be based off of. Now, if you need further guidance on answering questions based off of these 7 traits, then you could click the top link in the description, which leads to the engineering employment program, because there's an interviewing module inside where it helps you answer these types of questions that are related to these traits. Now, the second way that you should be studying for interview is to actually have a mentor do a mock interview for you instead. So try to find a mentor. Maybe that could be an upper year. Maybe that could be someone in the same year as you who is also looking for these internships and has had some interview experience in the past and knows how an interview works. So have someone that could interview you and do a mock interview with you. Because reading off a piece of paper and just answering questions to yourself is completely different to answering to an actual human. And I know a lot of students are busy studying for exams, trying to do their homework. So if you can't find anyone else, I recommend highly that you click the second link in the description, which leads to these mock interviews and other engineering application services that I do for you. So you could click that top link and I myself can do a mock interview for you. So inevitably, if you have many interviews lined up, there's going to be one question amongst those that sort of get you and you just don't know how to answer. And as you saw earlier, I do not recommend that you lie at all, because these interviewers have had many interviews in the past. They've interviewed like hundreds up to thousands of people, and they sort of get the sixth sense and they sort of smell out your lies when you tell them. So do not lie. By all means, do not lie during an interview, because they can smell it out. But instead, what you're going to want to do is to do the moral thing and just tell the truth, okay? And this might look unsexy. They're going to be like, oh, this guy doesn't know how to answer my question. It's all right, okay? In this interview that I got for my first ever engineering internship, I actually answered a question by saying, I don't know how to answer that. And they were like, oh, completely fine. A week later, they called me back and then I got the job. So it didn't matter that I didn't know how to answer that one question, because I nailed all the other fucking answers. So don't worry to say I don't know to a question, okay? Maybe you can even say it to 2 questions. It doesn't matter. If you don't know, you don't know. And if you don't know, you can't answer it, right? So just tell the truth. And when you do this, you also gain the trust of the interviewer, right? Because when you tell the truth in saying you don't know, the interviewer is thinking, oh, this guy can't be lying about not knowing, so he must not be lying about these other questions that he answered before. Like if he's telling the truth about this question, he must be telling the truth about the previous ones, right? So it's sort of this psychological effect that you give the interviewer when you tell the truth, okay? And you get their trust. And it's a good way to show your character as well. They're looking for professionals, so show you're professional, okay? Show that you are a professional. Show that you're not this lying little boy trying to impress their crush by saying some cool shit about them that never happened, okay? Just tell the truth instead. As I said before, you can click the top link in the description, which leads to the engineering employment program, which has modules on interviews, internship resumes, internship cover letters, and internship design portfolios, all for engineering students who have a zero engineering experience. I was in the exact same shoes as you. At one point, I had no design club experience, no research experience, no engineering competition experience. I wasn't in the co-op program, and I had zero network, zero people in my network. Yet I still managed to secure an engineering internship in a 2-week job hunt. 2 weeks at a position at nearly double minimum wage. Okay, I could get to you to that point if you click the top link in the description. And if you need extra services for engineering internship applications or engineering internship interviews, then you can click the second link in the description. I give you services as well at a cheap price.